What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Black Man Unfiltered Network. Get your popcorn ready. Ladies, get your glass of wine together right now. Sip it, because we're about to take you on an emotional journey that you've never been on in your life. You're going to laugh, you're going to cry, you're going to be mad, you're going to be happy, you're going to agree, you're going to disagree, and that's what Black Man Unfiltered is about. We want all of you to have a voice, and this is the place where voices are heard. So thank you guys, because we're going to have the conversations that nobody else wants to have, and we're going to come to a medium, we're going to come to solutions, or we're going to agree to disagree, but you're in the right place to do it. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and I want to introduce you guys to all the shows that's on the network coming up on this next slide. Peace!
What's going on? This is the Black Man Unfiltered Network. This is the one-on-one sports show, man. I am Dante. This is my co-host here.
And I'm Shawnee.
And so we, as you can tell by the hat that I got on, that's the team I root for. So we're going to go on and get this slander. Shawnee, I'm going to let you go ahead and take off with it because I got a lot I can say. But go on and Hey, if you're a fan, the L this today stands for L. So don't give it to me, man.
Yeah, so we're gonna kick it off with these Lakers missing the playoffs. Made it official was that yesterday,
Yeah.
and I'm not a Lakers fan. I'm a LeBron fan, but I'm not like the traditional LeBron fan. Everybody they constantly want to compare LeBron and MJ. I'm I appreciate greatness, but I still say that MJ is better than LeBron if it goes down that road. But as for the Lakers, I'm I'm personally glad that they missed the playoffs because I got tired of hearing about them all season. I mean, the media, it almost looked like that every game almost of the Lakers this season was a national televised game. They probably had maybe 10 to 15 games that weren't nationally televised. And they just kept putting them on the team. I wish they do them like the NFL do. I mean, they flex teams and whatnot to get the mainstream television views and whatnot. Because I wish they would have flexed them off the TV a long time ago. Then they wasn't winning. They constantly losing, but yet they constantly getting primetime slots on the TVs, on ESPN, on TNT, weekend ABC. I'm like, they're not doing anything. And this was even during the stretch where majority of the time that Anthony Davis wasn't even playing. So they wasn't even playing good basketball at all. So me personally, I'm glad that they finally got, out of their misery. We don't have to worry about them no more. We don't have to talk about them no more. So that's basically all I have with the Lakers. I think from the get-go, I always thought that the Russell Westbrook trade was not a good trade at all. I mean, you saw the weaknesses that the Lakers need to address last season, and Westbrook was not that one was going to be able to fulfill those weaknesses. Me being a Rockets fan, when he was traded to the Rockets in that season, they had success towards the second half of the season, but the Rockets literally had to experiment just so he can produce. They had to play small ball when they traded Capella and they got Covington. They had to play small ball for the rest of the season. They got Tucker, who is 6'5", playing center. That's why they was killed by the Lakers in the bubble in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They had no size. But the Rockets literally had to experiment just so Westbrook can perform his best. So with the Lakers, I always felt like they needed shooters. But they just wanted to. I wasn't really tripping about the Carmelo because he's a good bench asset. But everything else, the Westbrook, so everything this season, it just didn't fit. And one last thing I know, I heard at the beginning of the season, LeBron put out this tweet about what's up, Sir Hill? Put out this tweet about, hey, keep the same energy because people talking about how old they were. And then yesterday, between yesterday and today, that tweet got deleted. I guess once they officially left the playoffs. So that's what I got to say. I'm just happy that they gone for now. What's up, Marcus?
What's going on, Marcus? Man, I'll put it like this because I was just talking to my younger brother about it, and he was listening to, of course, Stephen A. Smith, so he don't really know. And I was just like, look, I understand it. Give him all of the slander. Give LeBron all of the slander because I heard it rumored, but when Magic said it, I mean, who his source is. His ownership. And when they said, hey, we had the DeMar DeRozan deal set up. Hey, we had that. We was going to do the Buddy Hill. And they was going to, do those deals. So you was going to have a shooter and another playmaker. The only way I thought it could work is for Westbrook. And it was one of those my team did it. And it was really the second time I felt that way as a Lakers fan. The other time I felt that I guess it can work. I hope it works was the Steve Nash deal when they brought in Dwight Howard the first time. And I was just like, look, maybe if we can, Russell Westbrook can play the games, today is the day to say Michael would never, Black Man. I understand. He needs all the slander, and but it's one of those deals to where you knew that this had a high chance of not working out. Then the injuries happened. He got injured because, bro, you 37, bro. Your body is not going to be what it used to be. And I figured it was going to end like this with him not playing when I saw, okay, you dropping 56, you dropping 50 points just to win, and then you having 6 and 7 game losing streaks. So it's not unexpected. And as far as the league perspective, the Lakers are a big brand, and you don't want your big brand sitting out of the playoffs. But 7 times out of the last 9 years, the Lakers haven't made it. So it's not a completely LeBron problem. It's a ownership problem. The ownership listened to LeBron. They took the deal off the table for Hill, and they went through with that deal. DeRozan came out and was like, hey, I felt like the Lakers did be bad. I had the deal set up. And, you had these shooters. But, what's the name? Wayne Ellington was racking up DNPs. You was getting guys that just no longer really couldn't hang in the league, man. And, he put out that tweet, and that's one of the things that, hey, he gotta chill on that stuff, man. We keep that energy. Hey, bro, unless you gonna come out and kill it, man, don't come out here with that energy, bro. They gonna roast you. So Barbershop Talk or the show he has, hey, bro, don't mention this season or cancel the season, period, because I don't want to hear no excuses.
But you gotta remember though, LeBron is an icon.
Yeah,
he's the only icon, pretty much, probably in any sport right now. He is the only icon who pretty much basically his whole entire career. I don't remember social media was really existing in 2003 when he was drafted.
Not
pretty
really.
much within 3 years, social media started coming up. So basically his whole career was in social media. So no other icon has that. So that's why you hear everybody's opinions about LeBron. LeBron embraced this, so that's why you have LeBron tweeting and all this. So you hear from LeBron more than any other player in pretty much in history, because pretty much almost his whole entire career has been on social media.
Yeah, he gotta find a way to find that balance. I like it when he does the point of it's like, hey, I'm gonna be straight, medium, I'm gonna be in the middle and this and that, because he's gonna get killed for everything. But his GM capabilities need to be down to 10%. His GM, they need to be down to hey, do you hate this guy? Can you play with this guy? If you don't hate him and he's not, but he's a fit, hey man, he gonna go on the roster, because now they putting Anthony Davis up there, and it's just as far as him being on the block, and it's just hey, do it if it works. But if you're gonna get a trade like the Lakers got for him, unless you're gonna get something like that, I don't really see it fitting. But I've heard today from Lakers Nation, they were basically, if LeBron doesn't sign an extension and he can sign it on August 4th, then you'll see Anthony Davis get shopped, because they're not trying to run into a deal to where it's okay, LeBron is going to play out his days. Because basically at this point, he's okay, I'm not blaming him for everything. I see you, Lou. I'm not blaming him for everything, but I'm blaming him for what he had a part in. It's fact now that it's came out this week that there was a trade that was in place. I'm giving him his props for the times he's GM stuff, and because basically him coming to LA revived the franchise and brought Anthony Davis here. That was, which ended up bringing the championship, bubble or not. Because I'm my thing with the bubble thing was there any other time to wait 2.5 years for the stadiums to fill back up? So since that wasn't going to happen and the players were going to lose the money, play the situation as is. I think if the Clippers or anybody else won, they're hey, he won a ship. Go out there, they'd be he got 3 championships for 3 different teams. So it's just kind of the narrative changes. So, but as far as him, doing the GM thing, it's worked at times and at times it hasn't. At this time, he needs to take a step back and be hey, you got all your guys, but it just didn't work out. So he needs to let Rob Pelinka come in. And I know people are worried about Rob Pelinka's GM skills, myself included. But if he had the DeRozan and the Hill trade on deck, hey, that does look bad on LeBron. And I've heard Jeannie Buss has kind of stepped up and said, hey, I've heard rumors of saying we're not going to give the franchise away to LeBron. I've heard Colin Cowherd say it. I said other people say it. So it's he's at a fork in the road. What are you going to do? I know one thing that both parties want. He wants to break the scoring record in the Laker uniform. I can probably say, because for his brand, as far as him being an icon, that's gonna do something. And at this point, I hope he does it, because what other thing do you have to sell as a franchise? Like, come look at these palm, man. You can live in these palm trees in the sunshine in the off season, but while I'm in the season, I'm gonna play for somebody that's gonna compete for a championship. They just treat him right when he breaks the record. Hopefully, he breaks it at home. And at this point, I will say this in regards to the trade, because I know it's gonna come back up. We know that the draft pick that the Pelicans or whoever moved it is going to be a high pick, because they didn't make the playoffs. That high pick and Zion, who we see how that's working out, the Pelicans are still not going to progress anywhere. Like they're in the play-in, they locked the Lakers out, and that's their championship, because they've shown that they are an organization that's not really going to get anything done. The Lakers got the ship out of it. Anthony Davis is, injury prone or not, I'd rather see him one more season. But it's going to be on the ownership to see what they do, because the Lakers this is probably one of the biggest off seasons they've ever had. This probably about the biggest one since Shaq got traded and Kobe was thinking about leaving, because it could go to a point where they don't have their picks. So if you're losing games, you're going to be looking like those Nets when they didn't have them picks when they traded for KG and them. And it's like, hey, bro, you just got to try to win the best way you can and find second round guys. Second round guys are there for a reason. They're not gonna have the talent to lift you up. So basically, I'm here. I'm not the Laker fan, and I'm a fan of LeBron, but I'm not one of those stands do all this stuff. And
yeah.
Because like I told my brother, he was like, "Oh, who's the GOAT?" He always asked me who's the GOAT. I was like, "Bro, look, yes, Jordan had the 6 for 6. He had the greater career in that standpoint. But then when you look back in 30 years, you're gonna be like, man, this man scored 30,000 plus points, all-time points leader, top 10 in assists for however long he's there, and it's just like." And I heard somebody say this today, bro, it's evolution. Jordan was 6'6", 215. This man is 6'9", 270 and jumping just as high or higher than him, and kept it going for an extremely long time. So like, yeah, Jordan did the 6 for 6, and people will prefer his how he handled his business. Well, LeBron being a millennial, we take a lot of, get a lot of stuff and the passive aggressive and stuff. So yeah, you can knock him on that. But as far as pure greatness of a player, if you say he's a better overall basketball player, that's not really like a problem to me, because he can guard literally all 5 positions. We saw him in the Eastern Finals guard Derrick Rose. Well, he does have those low moments that Jordan didn't have any low moments in the finals, because we know he had low moments, because you can get a whole reel of him whining against the Pistons, but LeBron's whining is on social media, and they want to believe the greatest player ever because you bought the shoes for 200 something. I'm guilty too, but you don't want to believe that. And it's like, Jordan's stuff literally says inspired by the greatest player ever. So we understand it. What time it is. They're, the top of the top, 3. Because Kareem's in there as well. But it's like, I don't worry about debate. I'm just like, worry about the greatness, because it's about the league. And the league doesn't. And I'm glad, as far as like you said about it being out the playoffs, so we can skip Shannon. Stop talking about LeBron. Let's focus on the team that's playing.
Skip gonna still talk about LeBron.
We got people trying to go for a back-to-back championship and back-to-back Finals MVPs, and they said he would never win in Milwaukee. Then the so-called best player in the world is in the 10th seed. So it's just like, no, we got other people to focus on. We got the young Memphis Grizzlies. I'm glad they'll be out the way. They'll have the play-in, and then the first round, and then just let the Lakers be a distant memory. Because the season was bad. Let the fire burn, get the jokes off, but let's focus on the good teams. Like, it's crazy, because we're going to see the ratings. If the Lakers aren't in it and the Nets, well, they don't really move the needle in New York, but I don't know about the rest of the country. We're going to see what happens with them with that. So I'm really interested to see the rest of the playoffs, because as a basketball fan, the playoffs are going to be interesting, especially out east.
It's a lot of parity on both sides. The East now, it's a lot of parity. The West, especially Denver, they have key injuries that will really have them competing more towards the top. But for right now, and the same thing with the Warriors. But right now it's basically just the Suns on the West. So the parity on the West, I think, is still there. It's just the key teams having injuries. I don't know what Utah got going on.
Because Utah is falling, and I'm hearing that Rudy Gobert wants out. I know if Spider loses again, he might want out.
I know Dallas is potentially looking at him.
If Dallas can get Gobert, or I say Gobert or Mitchell, if they could get one of them, that'd be a big play. because if they can get out of that 4-5 to where the 4-5 ends up matching up against the 1-8, and that means they'd have to play Phoenix next. They can't do nothing with Phoenix, but why not get to that 3? If they could get to that 3, which is hard to get right now with so few games left, then they wouldn't have to face them until later, man. But
I think they may be pushing that 3, but in the meantime,
they pushing.
What's that?
They pushing.
What's up, Marcus? I see you enjoying the call. Appreciate you for joining us.
What's up, guys? How y'all doing?
Fine.
Man, just
talking about these Lakers missing the playoffs,
about this dumpster fire, man.
Hey, it happens, man. Someone has to lose and someone has to win. Each season. It's just the way it goes.
What's your thoughts on it?
How the Lakers did this year?
Well, are you a Lakers fan, or you can care less about what the Lakers do?
Honestly, I could care less, but I was a Kobe fan and Shaq fan growing up. And when I was younger, my dad was more of those old school guys where my dad had the VHS tapes watching Jordan. He would go to the games. He would take me to watch Jordan when I lived in up in Northern California. When they would come and play the Kings and the Golden State, he'd take me to those games and watch Jordan because he was a Jordan fan. So he grew up in all that era, the Showtime Lakers and stuff. But as far as now, the Lakers for what they are, you got Russ. That was one of my concerns with Russ when you add him to the team, because he was going to be a guy who he's not the same Russ as far as percentage and statistics go anymore, for the last couple of years. And then you got AD, who has been either down and bad, injured, or just not performing at the level that he was as compared to the bubble. Now that bubble tournament, I don't count it as a full championship. I count it as half a championship.
Now Marcus, I got to ask you, and I said it earlier in the show. So if you don't count it, were they supposed to wait until, like right now, everything is basically open? Texas, we've been open, but everything else now is about open now. So it means we would have been playing games basically with little to no fans up until this season, and then full capacity for the playoffs. So do you discount? You would discount that ring in the bubble, but you do realize that to stabilize the league, they had to keep playing games for the TV contracts.
Yeah, so, from a business standpoint and for the viewership and for the ratings, I understand that part, because obviously we were all indoors, right? We were all watching TV. So that's a smart strategy in itself as a business. But overall, as an athletic achievement and accomplishment, I just any team that would have won that championship, I would count as half a championship. I don't count it as a whole championship.
Why is that?
Because it's like, listen, first of all, you had certain teams on a roll before it stopped and froze, and then you stopped it. Right. And then all of a sudden, you pause it, you go into it like 4 or 5 months later or something like that. Yeah. It was like 5 months later, and then all of a sudden, you got the play-in tournament in it or something, and then you go in and you go in the playoffs, and next thing you know, it's like, I don't know. It was funky to me. It's like it didn't feel like an actual season because of the pandemic. So, that's my opinion on it. But
Yeah. My thing. Go ahead, Dante.
No, I was saying I hear you. I respect that standpoint. It's just that if you want to look at it if you play devil's advocate, you look at it, and I made sure I looked up the days before the show. When the Lakers won, there was a 71-day off season from the time of winning the title and that. And if you notice it, the Heat got swept. They were in the finals, short off season. They lost to the Bucks. The Bucks lost in the second round to the Heat the previous in the bubble. So if you want to put more of an asterisk by a championship, you possibly could do that to the Giannis one. But when you look back on it, we don't look at asterisks as far as people being hurt. Like we've seen Magic miss finals and different things like that. Everyone was relatively healthy in the bubble. And it was the positions where it was like, look, everybody was in the same conditions and dealing with the same thing. It wasn't like I'm going on the road. Home court road was all eliminated. It was just jersey colors. So I felt like it was like, hey, it was kind of like AAU ball where it's just like, hey, these guys are in the gym and they developing that game. They working on them. Not a lot of spectators, just maybe a few scouts. I saw it as more of a like that, which wasn't a negative in my eyes. It's like everybody's dealing with the same situation. So it's equal. Now when you get to all the guys having the rest, the teams that lost early, or the Suns made the finals after what? They went on a run in the bubble, still didn't make it, but got more time off and came out.
They went undefeated in the bubble, I believe.
Undefeated. They went undefeated, still couldn't make the playoffs, and it's like they were successful and met the Bucks in the finals. So it's like the teams, with the more rest kind of got an advantage. But last year was the most All-Star games missed in league history. Like, because you compressed 72 games in a short amount of time. So it's kind of like that was kind of more of a wonky season than this one where it had to stop. Like the whole world had to deal with it. And I just don't agree with saying it. I understand the points, but I just don't, not just because it was my team, because I wanted the Clippers.
Everybody had the same starting point.
Yeah, everybody had the same starting point. I wanted those Clippers so we could shut that up, but it didn't happen. And it was just one of those things where it was unfortunate. But I can understand anybody's viewpoint. I can understand you. I respectfully disagree.
And that's a valid point in itself as well. It's just for, I just like the old tradition of it. That's what threw me off, and to do it is I guess.
I feel you, because when you look at it, and I know a lot of people got COVID from it, but when you look at the Bucks when they had the championship thing there and the Day Plaza and all that looked wonderful. It looked wonderful, the transition. It looked wonderful to see New Orleans packed for the Final Four, and to see just everything going on and how exciting it was, and college basketball. I can't even remember who won. I know Baylor won last year, and I think it was some people there, but just the energy and excitement. I worked a security job at Dickies Arena here in Fort Worth, and I did it, and I saw the energy and the people there and the fans, and it was we missed that. So now, Marcus, I completely
talking about the March Madness, the first round.
Yeah, the March Madness, the first weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, man, and I took a little picture of the people. You could take the picture in front of it, welcome. It was Baylor, UNC, Kansas, Creighton, can't remember, and Marquette was there. And it was just the energy was crazy, and it really affected college basketball a lot. It affected, so you could see those fans there going crazy, rooting on their teams, and it made a big impact. But
adding fans definitely made it better.
Yeah, it was.
So do y'all think that the championship will go through the West or the East again?
East. I got the
I think the West has a chance, because right now, I see the Suns as the best team in the NBA right now. They playing total ball. I mean, the Bucks
team ball, collective.
Yeah,
the Bucks do the same, but it's just the way how the Suns are going about it.
I think the Suns are a better shooting team, but the Bucks are a better inside paint team.
Yeah, so both teams are playing A+ ball right now.
I see it as the Suns came back, but I don't think they have an answer for Giannis, and it's one of those things to where I think it very well could be a rematch of that, or don't sleep on one of these wild cards. I don't think to talk about Memphis, I don't want to discredit them, but it's one of those deals to y'all familiar with Tom Thibodeau?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He kind of subscribes to that theory of, hey man, if you play hard and you defend a little bit, you can win 45 games. And so for them to be over 50, you're winning some of it a little lucky, because a lot of times they're winning without Ja Morant, but they're playing really hard and they're trying to fight for their place in the league. I could see them being a 2-7 matchup. Now, if they're playing the Timberwolves, I don't see the Timberwolves with the heart to beat them. I just don't.
Timberwolves are scary though.
They are, but I just don't believe in Karl Anthony Towns. With all the ability he has and wanting to crown himself as the big man shooter, and he's definitely one of them, especially winning that 3-point contest. But it's just I think the Grizzlies can get to the second round, and when they get to there, if they were to face a Mavericks team, or something like that, or a Warriors, now I would kind of worry a little bit, because the Warriors got more, especially if the Warriors got their guns back. But
the Warriors have their guns back. It'll be a different story.
They did beat the Warriors last year in the play-in to send them home. So that's one of the deals where it's just Memphis is a big enigma in this playoffs. But I can see the Suns handling business on through. I can see the West having some competitive, but the West lost its firepower. Like the Clippers are gonna be in. They got Paul George, but they got
are the Clippers a 7 seed or 8 seed?
They are 7 seed, and how it works is the 7 and 8 play for the 7 seed, and then the winner of the 9-10 play the loser of the 7-8 game, and that's the winner of that wins the 8. And that's what the Grizzlies won last year. They won, so it's I don't know. I think the Clippers because Ty Lue is a really good coach. He can get them into the 7 or 8. He can get them to the 7 or 8. But I mean, once they get there, they're gonna get waxed.
Yeah, the Clippers was built for Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, and then they have the supporting staff around him. Yes. But Leonard, I don't know what that dude. I mean, that dude, he's just. As a matter of fact, a notification just came in about 15 minutes ago. Adam Silver, he is recognizing concern of stars not playing in the NBA. And one last point I want to mention about it before we transition. The NBA, I can't see this pretty much with any other sport. The NBA is in a position where probably more than any other sport, the players have the power, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
There's a flip side to that. Players got their power, but the players don't take the regular season as serious.
Yeah.
So you see all these DNPs just throughout, and it kind of really started with San Antonio.
Yeah.
But they was like older dudes. That's why Pop used to put old instead of DNP. Yeah. He used to put old. But the players are successful in getting the power. But now they basically starting to abuse it. Now they just don't take the regular season as serious.
They got to take it more seriously because it's a league that you'll stop the league from growing if you don't have the guys there. Like literally, my birthday was coming up last week, and the Lakers came in town to play. But I gotta wait to see who gonna be who coming to play. And then the season was going bad, so I was like, I don't want to go. But it's a huge problem in the NBA, and what they're gonna have to do one thing they can do to fix it is they got to get control of the lower levels. And like I read a story, and I keep this quick. I read a story about you got guys that can go up and 360 dunk and do all this stuff, can't stand up on one knee. They've played so much basketball. You got 9-year-olds getting ACL surgeries. Like they're playing. That's why guys that even from affluent backgrounds, like Doc Rivers' son, Austin Rivers, he want to be one and done because essentially these guys are professionals at an early age. Like they love to show that picture of the EYBL, which is an elite league where like all those guys are going pro. And they were like, man, these guys all end up being pros. I'm like, bro, that's not an aspirational story. Bro, you handpicked the best of the best players. And it was like Trae Young and a whole bunch of future lottery picks. Like, bro, like you get to a point where they're making them play too much ball. Like, and Zion, I think his family found out too late, and they were holding him out of tournaments. So they have to kind of get their influence. They got to work with college, and which they're competing with college with the G League, which I understand business is business. The G League Ignite, but they're gonna have to work with guys and be so where like when you get these guys, they are healthy. Like when you get to the NFL, they have the combine, and it's like if he's not healthy, he's moving down to the end of the list. And you have guys that they're coming, and it's like, and they look healthy, they look athletic, but they're sitting at a combines. They're not doing stuff because they don't want to get, they don't want to get exposed. Then you get a Michael Carter, what's the guy from the Nuggets? Not Michael Carter, but
Michael Porter Jr.
Michael Porter Jr. Excuse me, Michael Porter Jr. You got him coming into the league, and it was injuries, and he went ahead and got his quick bag real quick. Now he out because you did draft a guy with a back injury, and this is like you're getting guys with severe injuries, and they're not managing and regulating it, and then they're giving the scientific data. Was like, well, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't, and you shouldn't. The real answer, and they had the chance to do it, and they did not. You had a chance to start the season in December. Start the season in December. Football extended this year. Get the time where you're going up against your playoffs is going up against baseball's dog days of summer. Like your finals is going to be in July. And you're going to get ratings bonanza before football is even coming. Football is coming in training camp at the end of the month. And you can get your guys healthier, more rest. But they didn't seize on that opportunity. and the union didn't have the foresight, they're going to keep the schedule at the same time. But if they're going to keep it the same way, I'm with you, Shawnee. They're going to have to find a way to be like, hey, star guys got to play. The guys got to play because the money is tied to it. And they're going to have to fight with the union over it. It might have to be something where they put it in the contract.
Oh, he was in a role, and then all of a sudden they matrixed him out.
Well, yeah. So I guess, Marcus, we'll transition this to the NCAA with Kansas winning March Madness. So basically, yeah. So Kansas beat UNC to win the title.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally thought it was a good game.
It come down to the wire, right?
What's that?
It came down to the wire, right?
Yeah, it did. And I believe UNC played a little hero ball, too much hero ball within the last 2 minutes or so. They was just sort of chunking up shots. I know that's what they was able to. They was doing that throughout the tournament, making big 3-pointers.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a time and place, and they was settling for contested threes instead of looking for a better shot. But
you could have got the foul, or you could have gone for the 2.
They could have. They definitely could have went for the 2. Okay, Dante, you back?
Yeah, my bad. I'm having had some technical issues with my tablet. I had to switch to the phone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's me earlier. But no, we was as you can see, we transitioned to the Kansas winning the championship, and I was making a point that it was because Marcus brought the point that it was a close game, and it was, especially the way Kansas came back.
Yeah,
it was like a tale of 2 runs. I mean, Kansas started off super hot, then UNC just roared back, and then something happened in the locker room. Coach Self just got on, just lit a fuse under Kansas, and you saw completely. They just locked down UNC. I mean, turned the ball over.
Man, it was rough.
Put the ball from out of bounds, and then they was getting the ball picked off. And I mean, they was giving up everything. But towards the end, when it was going back and forth, I believe that UNC just started playing, some hero ball.
Yeah, definitely.
Contesting threes and stuff like that.
What's his name? Caleb Love.
Yeah.
And I remember it because I was at the bar watching the game. And I remember when Caleb Love took that shot, I was like, you really didn't need to. And then he hit it. And they went up 4. That was the same shot he tried to take. I was like, bro, don't try to be the hero, bro. It was the definition of hero ball. Mm-hmm. And he took it. And it was like, bro, you didn't have to take that shot. Get a better shot. But I'll say, other than the big 3 they took, when Baycott went and drove to the hole. His ankle went out, and like people were saying, they looked in and like you could see the tile moved, and of course the people in the gym were like, nah, it didn't. The tile was fine. It was fine structurally, but I mean maybe for his ankle was normal, it wouldn't have been nothing. But that was the play of the game, and it's just like dude battled and fought the whole game. And I thought if he wasn't able to be impactful, they were gonna lose the game. But when he came out and he was impactful and he was playing on it, I thought the game was in shape. I knew being up 15, Kansas was gonna make a comeback because when it comes to the brackets, I had picked Kansas to win it all because I didn't know. Like I grew up rooting for UNC, but I was just like, I'm doing a bracket. I'm not picking with my heart. I'm picking with my head. And I was just like, I thought Baylor, because Big 12 clearly proved it was one of the top conferences. I was just like, I think Baylor's gonna be able to get the best of them. But once they beat Baylor, I was like, okay, you upset the number 1. It's smooth sailing from here.
Yeah, you remember Baylor though? They lost their key players though early in the season.
I thought Duke was gonna make it, but then they got upset, and it was Mike Krzyzewski's last game as a coach.
I know that's kind of burying the lead. I was so damn happy that he was out of there, man. Now I'm hearing rumors about him coming back. I'm like, man, stay gone. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie. But Monty Jones from ESPN put it the best as far as putting like a cherry on the top of Coach K being gone. It was just kind of like, man, look, he ruled basketball for a while, but if you want to be honest about it, he underachieved a lot. And he didn't get any flack for it because media-wise, Coach K would bully people.
But Coach K would also like coach the NBA USA team, so they would win the gold. So I think that would help him,
And that's what helped him get the one and done guys but he got the one and done players, but he didn't do anything with it. Like when he had Kyrie, who was the number 1 pick, got upset. I think it was a first and second round upset. Like he really built his name in the 90s. From the 80s to the 90s, when he made those Final Fours and he was going up against Dean Smith, a legend in his own right, in his own state. That's when he put his name up in the title, and when he had the certain prototype of teams, and it made people uncomfortable. But Duke had the best. He had the All-American white guys that white America was comfortable with and rooted for. He had the baddest ones. He had the Christian Leitners, had the Bobby Hurleys. He had those guys, those type of players, and mixed in with a Grant Hill. Like he had certain guys that they were going to be successful, and his system worked for a really long time. And then they heard towards the end, it was like Coach K, the name, and he kind of got off of the care about education and the one and done. But but I don't fault him completely for it. We don't fault Nick Saban, as great as he is. We don't fault him for trying to, before he could adjust, trying to change rules. He was trying to change it so you couldn't play that with that fast of a tempo. He was trying to change it for years. Then he said, "I can't do it. I can't win with this shit, with this ground and pound." Then he did. Now he don't want to change the rules now. And that's the same thing with Coach K. They're great because they control shit. They control it.
They got more power,
and they got a lot of power.
They have that respect, but it's to the point where that's respect. They revered.
Yeah.
So people they're not really gonna challenge. Cause I know the point you brought up, where he can kind of bully people sometimes. Remember, he come from that Coach Knight.
Yeah. That Army background.
I don't really have too much of it, unless of course, if it crosses the line. His recruits, they know his personality.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, I kind of listen to the Keyshawn J. Will Max show, and they like to pick on how Jay Will used to get him and Coach K used to go back and forth to the point that Jay Will literally, his fist start balling up.
Yeah.
The thought of taking a swing made near his mind. He never did it, but he just got so hot on him. But that's Coach K's personality.
Yeah.
He likes players with that type of personality.
And I think
on
that a little bit more, to be like, he's human. He's 100% human. He's not just the holy grail of Coach K. Because I heard Monty Jones say it was in Christian Leitner said that when he came back for that last year, Coach K was like, "I really wish you wouldn't have came back." And Christian Leitner, that still affected him 30 years later. Like it was like there was a side to him like Coach Knight. Like with Coach Knight, we accentuate the chair throwing, the getting mad, and all of that stuff. But with Coach Knight, he kind of like, he gets a pass because it was Duke, and that's just the guy they chose to uplift, and it's like, it's not a problem. He was great. He did a lot, but it's just like, hey, I'm glad to see that his run is over. He picked a successor. They're still getting top recruits, but I never caught the game that he did where he got Duke back with getting recruits by being the USA coach, and you FaceTime LeBron and Kobe, and I was just like, that was the slickest thing he ever done. And I never realized that most coaches for Team USA just do it one cycle. He did it a couple of cycles. He kept the recruits coming. So that was, but that's that genius, that smart coach stuff. But I always give him props for, having been with Team USA, the redeemed team in 08, because what happened in the 04 Olympics, that made me throw up, man. And that's
nobody was expecting that. Nobody was expecting that.
And I know it's a hot take, and I know we're about to get to Stephon Diggs and the contract. Larry Brown's one of the more overrated great coaches of our time, and I know he may know the game, but he was a guy to me that he wasn't it for me, especially in that Olympics. We know the team didn't gel right, but I know off the top of my head, he had a couple of 75 players on that team. Even though LeBron, Carmelo were young, did have Iverson, you did have Duncan. And you couldn't coach that up to kind of, I don't know, man. Sometimes I think we leave that out. I know it's a lot of things you could put into it as to why they didn't win. But, but it's just like, bro, you got we're the best basketball players in the world. We're a basketball factory. We're like McDonald's, Apple, all in one. Like, that one with Larry Brown is, but I'll get off my soapbox on that one.
No, but so we got the Kansas piece out the way. So now we're gonna transition to another league, to the NFL.
Okay.
And there's a couple of one point I'm they want me to do the Cowboys.
Yes, sir. The Cowboys.
So whatever y'all opinions on the Cowboys and how they offseason are going, I'm gonna let you two go first, because I got a little rant and stuff I want to get on.
Okay, I'm gonna make it quick because I want to hear that rant, because like when you bring up that Clippers, I kind of feel like where I know where you're going with that one. But what I'll say is they have been looking like idiots. The front office has been looking like idiots all offseason. And what I mean by that, I'm not over-exaggerating. I know I'm harsh at times, but I'm not over-exaggerating. All right, you traded a $20 million receiver for a 5th-round pick because, nobody wanted him. And I hear the reports, and I'm pretty sure it's getting leaked by different sources. Nobody wanted Amari. Nobody wanted Amari. Nobody wanted Amari. Okay, well, you had a guy that's 27 that got traded for a 5th-round pick with a $20 million salary. You just had a guy that he is better than him for sure, Tyreek Hill, get traded for a 1 and you paid him money. The way it works in the NFL, either I'm paying picks for something or I'm paying money. I'm not really doing a lot of both unless it's a quarterback, Deshaun Watson. So you have that blunder. You're mad at Lyle Collins. You let him go for nothing. You let him go to an offensive line hungry team in the Bengals. You have to see him. You blunder everything with Randy Gregory, no matter what happens. Hey, the best of luck to Randy Gregory. I know his agent has something nefarious to do with it, but it is what it is. There's closing the deal. That's not closing the deal. Jerry Jones, former Selman, always be closing. Why, Steven ain't ready. If he couldn't close that deal, maybe he's not ready. Then you got the situation where you're in on free agents and you're not giving them, you're not paying outside guys. And you'll be like, hey, we got 3 players for the price of 1. Leighton Vander Esch, Dante Fowler, underperformer. And I'm trying to think who else you signed with that money. You signed Vander Esch, Fowler, and Dorrance Armstrong, a backup defensive end that you developed. That's a nice backup that you should have let go. So you let all this talent go. Vegas still has you as 10.5 wins as far as over under. So the division's not good. The Philly hurt themselves, I think, by trading for that pick and not getting a 3, but they didn't hurt themselves for this year. It's more so they're saving ammunition to get a quarterback later. So you'll be up there to win the division, but are you going to be able to win a playoff game? And at this point, the answer got to be definitively no. And it's just like the offseason, the Cowboys between now and next offseason, they just look themselves in the mirror and figure out what are we going to do to get this right. Because Stephen Jones, I think, is going to continue the legacy in sports of the old money brought the fame and the championships and all the good glory for the franchise. The new money, the second generation, just F's it up. And I think Stephen is going to F it up, being too cheap and thinking he's smarter in the room. When you got Devontae Parker getting traded for a 3rd-round pick, a player that Amari Cooper is definitely better than. And then you were in on it and trying to trade a 3rd for him. Like, what the F are you doing, man? They looking bad out here. And you're signaling what you need to draft in the draft with offensive line, wide receiver, and you can't just keep big. You have all these picks, 10 picks. You're not going to hit on every pick. Only the top 3 rounds of the guys you're going to hit on. Maybe you hit on a 4th or a 5th, or a 4th, and then after that, it's special teams guys and guys you're going to cut in 2 years. But that's all I got to say on them. Is just like, hey, I'll still root for them, but it's like my expectations are definitely lower right now before the draft because I don't see it.
That same thing with me. You had something to say, Marcus?
I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I will say this because they make the most profit out of any NFL team. I think sports franchises are like the richest, right? In America, at least.
Yeah.
And so my thing is, if we know that we have the money to control and the politics of it, imagine the number of contracts we can give out. Now I get it. Maybe, from my opinion, maybe this is like a conspiracy, but maybe the reason why Jerry Jones doesn't give all these fat contracts out is so it doesn't go through the player's head or the ego, and they can have leverage.
Mark,
you know what I'm saying?
Marcus, not to interrupt you, and that would be all fine and dandy. They don't give money to outside free agents. They try to Steven, because he basically at this point, Jerry comes in when needed. They needed him for the Randy Gregory.
The closer.
Steven is doing the day-to-day because Jerry turns 80 this year. They play hardball, and then they give the biggest contract in league history at the time of signing. Every time. They gave Zeke the biggest deal. They gave Dak, not the biggest, but one of the biggest deals. They gave DeMarcus Lawrence at the time one of the biggest deals. They gave Amari Cooper one of the biggest deals. Zach Martin. They always play hardball, and they give in. They just don't pay outside guys. But you have,
but that's the issue. But that's the issue because there's plenty of other guys that are doing way better than them in the outside of the league.
Thank you, and that's the thing that drives, especially living here in the Metroplex. You hear all the nuts and all the details of everything. You hear everything that comes out, and it's just like they want to draft and develop. Ever since Brandon Carr was signed, they've been scared away from free agents. And Shawnee, I see you post that this is the man that changed Cowboys.
Yeah.
And I was just like, damn. I was like, look, I ain't giving away no show content. I was like, I'm saving everything for the show. But I was like, that was so spot on point, bro. Like, it's bad, and it's just like it's like, bro.
I just think Jerry doesn't want to get I don't think that Jerry is my opinion. Nobody else's, but I think Jerry just doesn't want to give outside agents the leverage when they know they're going to come to Dallas if they get signed by Dallas to get a fat contract.
He still thinks that, but it's kind of like guys want the money. Like as far as
some of those guys on the outside, they deserve that money. If you want to bring the talent,
they do. Like Von Miller, like you couldn't convince me. And then you look at the details of the contract. These other teams, not only are they giving out the money, they're giving the illusion that it's like Von Miller's deal looks like, oh, look at that, look at all that money. Bro, it's essentially a 2 or 3 year deal. You can't convince me, even at his older age, you could, if you were going to spend on Randy Gregory, who I'm not knocking him just because he's leaving, but how many career sacks do you have?
Didn't Bobby Wagner just sign with the Rams?
He just signed with the Rams, and the way that interview sounds, like I was listening to some of the interview and the way he sounded when he was like, you could tell he was leaning towards the Cowboys. He wanted to break. Well, first of all, he said he wanted to raise his profile. What better way to play a profile than getting guaranteed 3 Sunday night games, which is the biggest game. You're going to get the one Monday night, and then you're going to get the big Sunday afternoon games. On the East Coast, they say the 4 o'clock games. Central Time, we say, that's the 3:30 game. So, like, he was trying to raise his profile. He's a 6-time All-Pro. He's going to the Hall of Fame. Him and Micah in the middle, it just like they don't see it. They don't see it that way. Then they have a good draft and they pat themselves on the back, and then for better or for worse, you get the Micah Parsons, and it's like I was out on him.
Earl Thomas, I thought Earl Thomas a couple years ago was supposed to go with them.
Earl Thomas was the one. They didn't give up. They didn't give up the draft compensation. And then every time Earl Thomas, which he ended up flaming out of the league, doesn't go through, or another player doesn't work out, it's like, well, look, we told you, we like our guys. We like what you're doing is great, but you're treating this team like it's a small market team and it's the biggest brand in sports. Like you can't nickel and dime it. You have if you don't know, the Frisco costs more. The Star in Frisco, the training facility, it costs more than the AT&T Stadium. So you got $2 billion stadiums. You got $2 billion stadiums, but you penny pinching in free agency. You don't want to use what they call using the credit card in the cap world in the free agency, and you want to win the cap. Winning the cap and keeping that money right, because now it's like, oh, we got to re-sign Trayvon Diggs, and so we planning that far out in the future. You can't manipulate the cap like the Rams. You can't manipulate the cap like the Saints. Come on,
they're so focused on the cosmetic of how it looks like on the outside, but they don't want to pay what's worth on the inside.
And you're 100% correct. And it's man.
So let me stretch out.
Go ahead, bro.
On this one. So just to give y'all a little background of my, I guess, football fandom and whatnot. I was born and raised in Houston, Texas. So because of that, I was an Oilers fan. As the years went on, Oilers left, went to Tennessee. So during that time, literally the city of Houston, they literally started broadcasting everything Cowboys. I'm talking from the games to specials, everything. So it's basically just made me into a Cowboys fan. So literally since like 92, 93, around well, when the Cowboys won the Super Bowl in 93, but around that 92, 93, and that's when I really started following the Cowboys, even during the offseason with the specials they had. So, of course, me still living in Houston, when the Texans came, I was supporting the home team. So that's when I became both a Cowboys and a Texans fan. So my friends, they get on me about that to this day. I'm cursed with that. Been living up in Dallas for like the past decade, so I'm still following both teams. So that's where my fandom goes with both teams, and I've been seeing them. You already know what the Texans are doing down there. They just circus show right now. So just move them out the way. With the Cowboys are really, the last time the Cowboys won a championship was 95. They had it was like a 10-year gap where they could, especially when Aikman retired. Once Aikman retired, they couldn't find a quarterback to save their life. Romo finally became pretty much a bona fide starter in 2006, 2007. Since Romo was quarterback all the way up to today, because a lot of people, I guess outside of Dallas, the biggest name for the Cowboys is Jerry Jones. So a lot of people still look at Jerry Jones like Jerry Jones was back during the Super Bowl years for the Cowboys. They think Jerry Jones is the one who's calling all the shots. Jerry Jones is doing pretty much during the Romo, especially the second half of Romo's career up to now. You might as well just picture the Cowboys as like a three-headed monster. Jerry Jones is basically the closer. That's basically what he do now. The team is basically, as far as contracts and all that, what Dante was bringing up, that's Stephen Jones. Stephen Jones now is the one controlling the money, and he is a whole lot tighter with the pockets than his dad. And then there's Will McClay. Will McClay is the draft guru basically for the Cowboys. The reason why they don't spend a lot of money in the offseason because they have so much faith that with Will McClay that he'll be able to pick these players in the draft. So, but they've been using this formula since the Romo years. When they gave Romo, and you can see they haven't won anything in almost 30 years as far as getting to the NFC Championship game. So during that time, I remember when they gave Romo his big contract. That's when Romo finally was able to convince them, give me an offensive line. Because for the most part, it was just Romo trying to run around and create something. So that's when they finally gave him an offensive line, and you saw the upgrade, the improvement of the team in 2014. When they finally had an O-line, when they finally had a running back with DeMarco Murray, that's when everything just seemed to gel at that point. That's when the whole infamous Dez Bryant, Dez called it with the
That was a catch. That was a catch.
So that's when that season is, when all that happened. So they was like, okay, but the Murray was becoming a free agent. They didn't want to pay Murray that money, and they was believing, okay, we got such a dominant line, we could put any running back there. So they tried that running back with committee in 2015. It failed. It's the main reason why in 2016 they drafted Ezekiel Elliott, because it was between Elliott or Ramsey. But that was the main reason, because they was like, that draft that team was really built for Romo. It wasn't built for Dak yet, because Dak was a fourth-round pick, picked up that same year. So they definitely wasn't. He was a fourth-round pick, and at that time he was third on the depth chart. So it definitely had to have Dak in mind. He was just a project. So when they drafted Zeke, they was trying to repeat what happened in 2014. And unfortunately, in that preseason, Romo got injured, and that's when Dak took over. But during that whole time, I believe Brandon Carr left the Cowboys, I want to say in 2014. But he was basically the last free agent that they spent money on. So basically they've been using that same system where they would pay internal players, but they didn't want to, especially after the Carr pickup, they didn't want to pay nobody outside. They've been using the same system. Don't pay nobody outside. We'll be able to address that position, that need in the draft. The only thing about that system is they did it with Romo, and they look like they currently doing it with Tyron Smith as well. And it looked like they could potentially be doing that with Ezekiel Elliott. They will waste the years of their core players. Right now, Tyron Smith, he's basically almost a step becoming injury prone.
Yeah.
His better years are behind him. So Zeke, almost his better years looking like they're behind him too. He had a burst last year at the beginning.
But he got hurt.
He got hurt. And I believe the Cowboys managed that whole thing terribly. They should have put him on the bench. Pollard, you go. And with the Cowboys, the way they put together their roster, they've been using the same system. That's why you got this title about are the Cowboys or the old Clippers. I was thinking about that before the show. And the reason I said that is during those Clippers, before Chris Paul was traded there, prior to that, during the whole Donald Sterling era and whatnot, they found out how to make money without putting together a championship squad.
Yeah.
Cowboys are starting to do that because they're so cheap. They're so worried about the cap. They will pay their players, like you said, Dante. They will pay their players, but they won't pay. They won't acquire players. Either they want to acquire them big names via free agent, or they don't want to trade their draft picks to go get some. They tried that with Amari Cooper. They traded a first round.
Saved the season.
Amari Cooper was one of the main reasons why Dak his performance started going up when they did get a trade. So, but they end up letting him go, and it wasn't really at fault as Amari. The Cowboys gave him the money, but for whatever reason, especially last year, you saw it last year when the offense started to slip. They did not. Everybody wanted Cooper to be more influential in the offense, but the Cowboys just couldn't figure out how to do it.
And whether it be the quarterback or the offensive coordinator, that's not on Cooper. And now you're hearing leaks about, Amari Cooper didn't step up in the big game. He didn't step up in the 49er game. He didn't. I mean, who did? Who stepped up in that last game? Nobody did. And they kept harping on the $20 million price tag. And I know that's the story we get to next. Now look at the receivers' price tags. And now it's ridiculous. And what they love is what? It's a bargain. It's a bargain. And you had them locked up for a few more years, and it's frustrating to see the deals. And that's why I said they're looking more net by the day. Wow. Look at Stephon Diggs deal, the Tyreek Hill deal, the Devontae Adams deal. Now, true enough, he is not as good as those players. But when you go and look at the other players that have gotten big money this offseason, definitely better. Definitely better than Mike Williams. And they say about injury prone, Barr has missed 7 games over his career, 2 due to COVID. So he's missed essentially 5 non-COVID games.
Yeah, I heard the COVID thing. That didn't sit right with the Cowboys.
It didn't sit right, and I'm not feeling it. But if it's your business, that's how you do. But if you want to get worse as a team, and you want to get to heights that you haven't been to since the 90s, that's a bad way to do it. To do business in that regard. Lyle Collins, now his I'm torn on because he's shown that to a degree. Hey, bro, in 2020 you missed the whole season because you showed up out of shape and hurt your hip. Then you come up and you fail a drug test, which is, you fail it is what it is. And then you trying to bribe the guy. Hey, bro, you stupid. That's stupid. I'm not saying you're stupid, but that is a dumb decision. And we knew that. And that had a part to play in the Randy Gregory deal because the Cowboys had a contract language. If you get fined, they can void your guaranteed money. The only thing is this. They can threaten that. When have they ever been tough on a guy and took the guaranteed money?
Kyle Orton retired and they didn't take the money back because they want to be a player-friendly organization. So it's just like the owner, the agent was talking tough, and the agent was mad, and that's why they cut him, and they let Randy got away because they share the same.
That's Stephen Jones,
and that's Stephen.
And Jerry was pissed about it.
Jerry was furious. Jerry got, hey man. Only thing I can tell Stephen to do is, man, dude, if you want to be better than your dad, hire Jim. Step aside, get a little title, and let Will McClay be the GM.
And going, Mark, you brought up the point about the Cowboys' worth as a team. That point right there, it shows how
that gives you all the leverage.
Yeah, it shows how great the Cowboys are. And I see, okay, we got 8 minutes left in the show. So I see, that shows you how great the Cowboys are as a business. Yeah. They have no problem, bringing in the money. And they really don't have a problem spending the money. It's just, it's only to a certain group of people. But they believe they can build through the draft. But the thing about the draft, because meanwhile, all the other 31 teams in the NFL, they believe they can build in the draft, and if their window is a win now window, they say, okay, we win now. So, because the draft picks is still a risk with the draft picks.
Definitely a risk.
So they will trade those draft picks if they can bring a qualified, bona fide Pro Bowler to make an immediate impact. But the Cowboys, they won't do that.
Yeah, and it's like they would have made a move for a step up. They would have move for a down. Paid him the money because the cap. And he was 5'3".
Your service, man. You're kind of staticky.
I'm staticky.
He's trying to chop up a little bit.
Hold on. All right, it's a little better now.
Well, you're gonna have to. I can hear you, but I guess you got to go start going. But in the meantime, though, since we were talking about with the money, and we brought up the point with the receivers, how they just getting crazy contracts nowadays. Appreciate it, Black Man. You see the graphic here with just some of the key number one, just free agent, free agent pickups or trades really. That all 4 of these receivers was originally traded, and that goes back to my Texans fandom. I'm still pissed off on what they did with Hopkins. I mean, you have these 3, and I believe it was you got Diggs, Hill, Adams, and it's another receiver. But basically, with these 3, they all had a first round. They were all traded for at least 1 first round pick. Hopkins is up in that same class, and they get nothing. Basically, a second round and a 4th. So that I'm pissed off at Texas still to this day with that horrible trade. But you can just see just the contracts and really the guaranteed dollars, and this is per year that they getting right here. The NFL, their salary cap is increasing, but it's not a big jump. It's just going up in increments, year by year because of the new TV deal that they have. But with the quarterbacks and these receivers, they're taking up all the money. You'd be like, unless it's gonna be like the Browns. The Browns getting creative with Watson's contract. His first year is only $1 million.
But the thing is that like the reason why they're getting these contracts is because they're like the entertainment of the NFL because they the one catching the touchdowns.
So it's a passing league now. It's a passing league.
But remember, back in the day, it was a passing league as well.
Yeah.
Back in the day with like Marino, when you had Elway.
It's labeled more as a passing league right now because back then, you had iconic quarterbacks. Yeah, they was doing their thing back then, but it's also in today you got so much pass attempts added to the rules that exist right now. Right now, the scales are just so lopsided towards the offense defense, you be like, man, why the hell we even come out to the field?
Well, it's not a running game no more.
No, the running game is still important, but you can't pay a running back at these days. Look at the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Well, because the running back, but the running back's career is kind of shortened because of the fact how they get so damaged from the legs. You know,
that's why people talk about Zeke.
If your son or your relative is a top-notch athlete and he can play running back, tell him to play receiver. Look at that graphic. Tell him to play receiver. Because all I will say, and I know we got to wrap this up, and I hope y'all can hear it and everything, but
yeah, you good.
I will say this: I would go to the standpoint of get a big money receiver. So I'll pay a guy $30 million, but that means my 2 and 3 are gonna be rotational. Like you're gonna have to either take a good solid deal, where it's like, okay, you came in as a 4th rounder. Now you're trying to get paid. So compared to what you were making, this is going to be a good deal for you. Either take it or hit the market. I'll pay my receiver and I'll pay my big money tight end because tight ends are still undervalued because some of them block, like a Kittle, or Rob Gronkowski. He decides to come back. Some of them block and they make plays down the field. So it's just like, and you're getting guarded by people that can't guard you naturally because the corners are too small. Linebackers, or some linebackers are too slow. Some safeties can't handle you either. They're not athletic enough either. So that's where you're gonna see things shifted. And I know the Cowboys are gonna sit back and I know they gotta feel dumb. Like, they're gonna try to spend it like they spent the 3-for-1 deal. But as far as the organization, if you're gonna pay the receiver that much, you're gonna pay the quarterback. Where are you gonna skimp? Are you gonna skip on the offensive line? No. You're not gonna pay the running back, and you can't pay any other big receivers. And if you do, it's just gonna be a situation of where you're going to be cap strapped because it is going to be interesting to see. Does the Rams model? I don't know if it'll work, but I would like to say that I do think that it can.
I would like the Cowboys to try something different. If it means doing the Rams model, I would like to see that because almost 30 years they've been doing this and they can't even get to an NFC championship game. But yet the fan base, they still believe they so blinded to the fact that they think the Cowboys are doing something.
Yeah. I will say, we know we got a few minutes left, but the fan base is kind of waking up. And I will say, from Bobby Belt to any other reporter can say that this is the most angry they've seen a fan base in a while. And it's weird because you did win 12 games, but you got to hold your team accountable. So, Shani, I'll let you wrap it up with the last point, man, because I love what you brought in with the Cowboys and the Clippers. So you go ahead and finish it up, man.
Yeah. So basically, wrap it up, and then one last point I want to give the receivers. They making all this money, but that position more than any other position is totally dependent on the quarterback. So Tyreek Hill is a perfect example. He's getting $30 million a year, but he ain't gonna have Mahomes throwing it in the ball.
Yep.
But because of that, though, that'll be a perfect. Hopefully, we may cover that the next episode. About to go ahead and close this out. Marcus, appreciate you for joining us up for much of the show. Might have to make this 1-on-2 or something like that. But yeah, appreciate you again for joining. So with that, hey, I'm out.
We out, man.
Peace.
Peace.
Thank you.